came here today with a prophetic word for someone who has been in a long season of waiting. You've been praying, believing, and holding on, but it feels like the breakthrough is just out of reach. You've asked God, when? How much longer? And I hear the Lord saying, your waiting is over. Get ready for a major shift. This is not just another message, it's a divine announcement. The doors that have been locked are about to open. The prayers that seemed unheard are about to be answered. The delay, the struggle, the wilderness, it was never a denial, it was preparation. But now that season is shifting. The time of waiting has expired, and God is moving suddenly in your life. I need you to hear this in your spirit. What took years to happen will unfold in days. What seemed impossible is about to become your reality. But here's the key. You must be ready. Because when God shifts things, he does it fast, and if you're not in position, you might miss what he's releasing. So today I'm here to tell you, get ready for the breakthrough, the opportunity, the favor, the elevation, because what God has declared over your life is coming to pass. My friend, if you've been in a season of waiting, I want you to know that God has not forgotten you. The waiting season can be one of the most painful, confusing, and frustrating times in our walk with him. It can make you question everything, your purpose, your prayers, even your faith. You may have felt like you've been stuck in a cycle where nothing is changing. You've been asking, Lord, when? How much longer? Why is it taking so long? But I'm here to tell you today, your waiting was not in vain. It had a purpose, and that purpose is about to be revealed. God is a God of divine order and perfect timing. He doesn't move too early, and he never moves too late. He moves right on time. But here's the problem. When we are in the middle of waiting, it rarely feels like that. It feels like we've been overlooked, passed by, and left behind while others are stepping into their promises. We see others celebrating breakthroughs, walking through open doors, and receiving blessings we've been praying for. And if we're not careful, the enemy will try to whisper in our ears that maybe God has forgotten us. Maybe we missed our chance, or maybe we weren't good enough to receive what we asked for. But the devil is a liar. God's delays are not his denials. He is not punishing you in the waiting. He is preparing you. Think about Joseph. God gave him a dream of leadership, of influence, of purpose. But instead of stepping right into that destiny, he was betrayed, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into prison. Year after year, Joseph waited. He waited through disappointment. He waited through injustice. He waited through silence. But what Joseph didn't realize was that every single moment of waiting was actually building him for the destiny that was ahead. The betrayal built his resilience. The prison built his character. The years of waiting refined his faith. So that when the moment of breakthrough came, when the shift happened, he wasn't just placed in a position of power, he was ready for it. God is saying to you today, I wasn't punishing you, I was preparing you. I wasn't ignoring you, I was equipping you. I wasn't withholding from you, I was making sure that when the blessing comes, you'll have the strength, the wisdom, and the capacity to handle it. You see, if Joseph had been promoted too soon, he wouldn't have had the maturity to handle the responsibility. If David had been made king the moment he was anointed, he wouldn't have had the heart to shepherd a nation. If Esther had stepped into the palace before the right time, she wouldn't have been positioned to save her people. And I need you to hear me today. What you have been waiting for is not being denied to you, but God is ensuring that when you step into it, you will stay in it. Because a blessing given too soon can become a burden. An opportunity received too early can be lost. A destiny stepped into prematurely can be overwhelming. So God in his wisdom says, not yet, not because he's cruel, not because he's forgotten you, but because he loves you too much to give you something before you are ready for it. Some of you have been waiting for healing, and you've wondered why God hasn't answered yet, but what if the waiting was building not just your faith, but your testimony? What if, through the waiting, God has been healing more than your body? He's been healing your heart. Some of you have been waiting for a relationship, wondering why God hasn't sent the right person. But what if, in this waiting season, He's been preparing you to be the right person for the blessing that's coming? Some of you have been waiting for a financial breakthrough, for doors to open, for opportunities to arise. But what if, in the waiting, God has been shaping your mindset, teaching you stewardship, deepening your trust, so that when the breakthrough comes, you won't just receive it, you will multiply it. I came here to tell you today that God never wastes a season. If you are waiting, it's for a reason. And I don't know how long you've been in this season, but I do know this. When God declares that the waiting is over, when He says it's time for the shift, things move suddenly. Suddenly, Joseph went from the prison to the palace. Suddenly, David went from tending sheep to ruling a nation. Suddenly, Esther went from an orphan to a queen. And suddenly, God is about to move in your life. Some of you need to shake off the discouragement of waiting because the shift is already in motion. What you have been waiting on is already being set in place. The breakthrough is closer than you think. The opportunity is knocking. The answer is on its way. Your waiting is over. Get ready for what's next. When God declares that a shift is coming, you have to walk in expectation. You can't afford to be passive, hesitant, or doubtful. You have to get in alignment because when God moves, He moves quickly. I need somebody to hear me today. What was delayed is about to be released. The doors that seem permanently shut are about to swing open. The very thing you thought was impossible, God is saying it's already done. But here's the problem. Too many of us pray for a shift, but don't prepare for it. We cry out to God, asking Him to change things, to open doors, to bring opportunities, but when He starts moving, we hesitate. We question, God, is this really for me? Am I really ready? What if I fail? And some of us even sabotage the very thing we prayed for because we can't recognize the shift when it starts happening. But I want you to hear me today. You cannot afford to stay in the mindset of waiting when God has already started shifting things in your favor. Look at the Israelites. They cried out to God for freedom for generations. And when God sent Moses to lead them out of Egypt, when the Red Sea parted, when their miracle came, do you know what some of them did? They started looking back. They started longing for Egypt. They had been so conditioned to waiting that when the shift came, they weren't ready for it. They were still thinking like slaves when God was calling them to be conquerors. And because they didn't embrace the shift, a journey that should have taken days took 40 years. I don't know who this is for, but don't let your hesitation delay your destiny. God is saying, I'm shifting you into a new season, but you have to stop thinking like the person you were in the last one. You have to stop operating in fear. You have to stop doubting every open door. You have to stop questioning whether you're worthy because I already called you, I already equipped you, and I already went ahead of you. Listen to me. This shift is not coming, it's already happening. Some of you are about to walk into divine connections that don't make sense. Some of you are about to receive opportunities that are bigger than you. Some of you are about to see restoration in areas of your life that you had already given up on. But will you be ready when it happens? You can't stay in Egypt and step into the promised land at the same time. You can't walk in faith and keep holding on to fear. You can't ask God to open doors and then refuse to walk through them. This is your moment of shift, but you have to move with God. Think about Peter. When Jesus called him out of the boat to walk on water, the miracle was already set in motion. The water had already been made stable under his feet. But Peter had a choice. He could step into the miracle or he could stay in the boat. And the same thing is happening to some of you right now. God is saying, step out, move forward, walk in faith. But instead of stepping, instead of preparing for the shift, you're analyzing it. Instead of running toward what God is calling you to, you're stuck in hesitation. But can I tell you something? The shift is going to happen with or without you. When God moves, He doesn't wait for us to be comfortable. He doesn't wait until we feel ready. He moves because His plan is greater than our fear. He moves because there are people attached to our obedience. He moves because when he speaks, his word cannot return void. And I don't know about you, but I refuse to miss my moment. I refuse to stay stuck in a season that God has already moved me out of. I refuse to let fear hold me back when God has already made the way. I came to tell somebody today, it's time to move. It's time to walk like it's already done. It's time to talk like you already have the victory. It's time to live like the shift has already happened, because in the spirit, it has. And if you'll receive that today, if you'll walk in expectation, if you'll prepare for what's coming, then when the shift reaches full manifestation, you won't be caught off guard. You'll be ready to step fully into what God has been preparing for you all along. Because what God has for you is bigger than what you left behind. And where he's taken you is greater than where you've been. So don't look back. Don't hesitate. Don't delay. Because your shift is here. Step into it. When God declares a shift, he doesn't just bring change. He brings acceleration. What took years will happen in moments. What seemed stuck will suddenly move. What felt impossible will come together in ways you could never have orchestrated on your own. But here's what you need to understand. Acceleration requires preparation. God is not just shifting things in your life, he's doing it quickly. And if you're not ready, you might miss what he's releasing. This is not the time to sit back and wait. This is the time to prepare yourself, your faith, your mindset, and your life for what God is about to do. Some of you have been praying for an open door, but when it comes, will you be ready to walk through it? Some of you have been waiting for promotion, but when God elevates you, will you have the character and the wisdom to sustain it? God is not just giving you a blessing, he's giving you responsibility, and responsibility requires readiness. Think about Noah. God told him to build an ark before there was a cloud in the sky. He had never seen rain. He had no proof that a flood was coming. But he prepared anyway. He built when people mocked him. He worked when there was no sign of change. And because he prepared, when the rain came, he was ready. Some of you are waiting to see signs before you prepare. You're waiting for confirmation before you start building. But faith doesn't wait for proof. Faith prepares. You don't wait to see the shift. You start moving as if it's already here. You start praying bigger prayers. You start speaking with authority. You start cutting off distractions. You start walking with a confidence that says, I don't have to see it yet. I already know it's coming. God is saying, get your house in order. Get your mind in order. Get your spirit in order. Because when I move, it's going to happen suddenly. This is not the time to be casual about your calling. This is not the time to be distracted by things that don't matter. If you knew how close you were, you wouldn't waste another minute on doubt, on fear, on second-guessing yourself. You would be in preparation mode. When a woman is expecting a baby, she doesn't wait until she goes into labor to start preparing. She starts months in advance. She gets the nursery ready. She buys what she needs. She prepares because she knows a due date is coming. And I want to tell somebody today, your due date is approaching. The things you've been carrying, the prayers you've been believing for, the purpose God has placed in you, it's about to be birthed. And when it happens, it won't come gradually, it will come suddenly. Joseph went from the prison to the palace overnight. David went from shepherd to king in a moment. The disciples were just fishermen one day, but when Jesus called them, their whole lives changed immediately. God is saying, I'm not just shifting you, I'm accelerating you. What took others 10 years will happen for you in 1. What seemed delayed is going to come rushing into place. The favor that was held up is being released, and you won't have time to get ready. You have to be ready. Because when the call comes, you won't have time to go back and fix things. You won't have time to second guess. You won't have time to prepare after the breakthrough happens. You have to prepare before it happens. Some of you have been saying, God, I'm waiting on you. Well, maybe God has been waiting on you. Waiting for you to stop playing small, waiting for you to walk in boldness, waiting for you to stop making excuses and start stepping into what he's already set in motion. If you knew what was coming, you wouldn't be hesitant. You wouldn't be complacent. You wouldn't be distracted by things that don't matter. You would be focused. You would be in position. You would be moving like someone who knows that any day now, everything is about to change. This is not the time to settle. This is not the time to slow down. This is the time to step into acceleration, the time to move as if the shift is already here, because in the spirit it is. God is saying, get ready, get prepared, because what I'm about to do will happen faster than you expected. And if you're not in position, you might miss it. So don't wait until you see it. Prepare now. Because when the doors open, when the breakthrough comes, when the acceleration starts, you won't have to catch up. You'll already be in place to receive it. And when you're ready, there won't be anything that can stop what God is about to release in your life. When God brings a shift, it's not just about doors opening, blessings being released, or breakthroughs happening. It's about stepping into a new level of faith, authority, and purpose. This shift is not just about what you're getting, it's about who you're becoming. Because when God shifts you, he is not just changing your situation, he is changing you. Some of you have been praying for change, but God is saying, I'm starting with you first. You've been asking for new opportunities, but God is saying, I need you to have a new mindset. You've been waiting for circumstances to shift, but God is saying, I need you to shift first. Because what good is a new season if you still have an old mindset? What good is an open door if you're still carrying the baggage of the past? What good is acceleration if you're still holding on to hesitation? God is not just shifting your life, he is shifting your thinking, your faith, your confidence. He is calling you to rise up and walk in the identity he has placed on you. And for some of you, that means letting go of what no longer fits. You cannot carry an old mindset into a new season. You cannot take old habits into a new level. You cannot step into a divine shift while still holding on to things that weigh you down. Some of you have been holding on to fear. God is saying, let it go. Some of you have been carrying insecurity. God is saying, let it go. Some of you have been clinging to relationships, to old ways of thinking, to things that are comfortable but no longer serve your purpose. And God is saying it's time to release it because I have more for you. When God called Abraham, he told him, leave your father's house and go to the land I will show you. Abraham didn't even know where he was going. He just knew that if God said go, he had to move. He couldn't stay where he was and receive what God had for him at the same time. He had to trust God enough to step into the unknown. And that's where some of you are right now. You feel the shift. You know God is moving, but stepping into it requires faith, because sometimes the shift doesn't come with all the answers. Sometimes the shift requires you to walk forward before you see the full picture. Sometimes the shift means leaving behind everything familiar and trusting that where God is taking you is better than where you've been. I need to ask you today, do you trust God enough to move? Do you trust him enough to let go? Do you trust him enough to stop trying to figure it all out and just walk in obedience? Because some of you are holding on to things that no longer fit where God is taking you. You are trying to keep people in your life that can't go where you're going. You are trying to make an old season stretch into a new one. But when God shifts, you can't stay where you are. You have to move with him. Think about the Israelites. When God brought them out of Egypt, he didn't just free them, he changed them. They were no longer slaves. They were his chosen people. But because they didn't shift their mindset, because they still thought like slaves, an entire generation missed out on the promise. But I don't want that to be you. And I don't want you to miss what God is doing because you're too afraid to let go of what's familiar. I don't want you to miss your blessing because you're still thinking like the person you were in your last season. I don't want you to delay your destiny because you're too hesitant to step into the unknown. God is saying, this is your moment. This is your time. I have declared this shift over your life. I have set things in motion that you can't even see yet. But now you have to move with me. Now you have to release the things that no longer serve your purpose. Now you have to believe that I am doing something greater than you can imagine.